Okay, hi everyone. Let's run through chemical energetics part 2 MCQ. Okay, let's look at the first question. What will be the signs of the enthalpy entropy changes when a liquid boils? So just take a simple case like this. So take a water, say water from a liquid become a gas, right? So from a liquid become a gas, actually there's increase in entropy, so it has to be positive. So when the water from liquid become a gas, actually is absorbing heat, right? Absorbing, so it's endothermic. So I'm just going to put a tick over here. So which means the answer is going to be A. Okay, let's look at question 2. Phosphine reacts with hydrogen iodide to form phosphonium iodide in the reaction below. Which one of the following reagents is true for the above reaction? Okay, so this part here can see a gaseous reactant become a solid. Okay, let's try. The products are less disordered. When actually they say less disordered, is the same as saying more ordered. Okay, more ordered. So the products are more ordered than the reactants. This is true. Okay, because from a gaseous to a solid. So I'm going to put a tick here. So this is true. They say the reaction is non-spontaneous under standard condition. You need to actually calculate. So let's try to do some calculation here. Change in G is equals to change in H minus T, change in S. So change in H is minus 145.2. Standard condition is 298. All right. Change in S minus 570.8. You need to divide by 1000 to convert it into kilojoules, because this is in joules, right? So press your calculator, you get plus 24.9 kilojoules per mole. So which means it's actually non-spontaneous, right? So this is actually true. Okay, let's look at the last part. Okay, let's look at last part. Since we know that change in H is negative and change in S is actually negative, so which means this part here is actually positive. So for the reaction to be spontaneous, we need the temperature to be low temperature, then the reaction is spontaneous. So they say as temperature increases, the reaction becomes more spontaneous. So this statement is definitely wrong. All right, so it's only 1 and 2. So the answer will be C. Okay, let's try question 3. Which of the following processes will change in S be negative? Negative means more ordered. So electrolysis of water produces hydrogen oxygen is more disordered. Boiling water become a gas, also more disordered. When you dissolve solid magnesium sulfate in water, the ions move around. All right, so this is also more disordered. Okay, so the answer is photosynthesis. Okay, photosynthesis actually converts carbon dioxide and water, okay, to glucose. Okay, glucose C6H12O6. Okay, I think this is solid, and oxygen gas is being produced. Okay, when you balance it, it looks like that: 6 hydrogen, 6, and here 6. Okay, so I guess 6 carbon dioxide gas, here also 6 gas, but you can see from liquid become a solid. So I guess this actually becomes more ordered. Okay, more ordered. So change in S should be negative. Okay, let's look at the next one. Methanol can be synthesized from carbon monoxide and hydrogen. Higher yields of methanol can be achieved at a lower temperature. Okay, when they say higher yield of methanol can be achieved at a low temperature, it means that this reaction is more feasible at low temperature. So under what scenario will the change in H and the change in S be? So for such scenario, change in H should be negative and change in S must be also negative. So over here you can see it's positive, right? So for the reaction to be feasible, we need T to be as low as possible. Okay, as low as possible. Okay, so let's look at the next part. So you can see that the graph is plotted change in G versus T. So I'm going to rewrite it in this way. So change minus change in S is actually your gradient. All right, since you're plotting change in G versus T. So there's a gradient. It's like y equals mx plus c, and this is actually your y-intercept. So we just learned that change in H is negative. All right, so it cuts the y-intercept on the negative side, and change in S is negative, so the gradient will be positive. Okay, because change in S is negative. So you need a positive gradient, and it cuts the y-axis on the negative part of the y-axis. So the answer must be C. Okay, let's look at question 5. In vehicles such as cars, Internal combustion engines convert chemical energy infused into kinetic energy. What are signs for change in H, S, and G for the above reaction? So you can see that this is a combustion reaction, it's exothermic, so change in H must be negative. And you can see from here there's 25 moles of gas to a lot more gas. Alright, so it's actually becoming more disordered, so it has to be positive. Oh, actually I don't even have to do that. Okay, so change in G equals change in H minus T change in S. So change in H is negative, change in S is positive. This mix gives only one answer. Change in G must be negative. Alright, so the answer is D for number 5. Okay, let's look at question 6. Which changes are accompanied by an increase in entropy, more disordered? Freezing of water becomes ice, is actually a more ordered, out. Sublimation, iodine becomes a gas, from solid become gas, more disordered. Vaporization, ethanol from liquid become gas, more disordered. Okay, conversion of oxygen to ozone. So oxygen becomes ozone. If you try to balance it, you have to multiply by 3 here and put 2 here. So you notice that 3 moles of gas become 2 moles of gas. It becomes more ordered. But question is asking for more disordered. So this is also out. So the answer has to be only 2 and 3. Okay, let's look at the next question. This is quite similar, alright, as just what we did. Hydrogen is strongly exothermic process with the equation as shown, combustion of hydrogen. Okay, so I'm going to put this change in H is actually exothermic, right? So it must be negative. Okay, what about change in S? You have 1.5 moles of gas to 1 mole gas, so it becomes more ordered. So change in S is negative, more ordered. Right, so like what I did just now, just going to write in this manner. Okay, this is your gradient. Okay, this is your gradient since I'm plotting change in G versus T. So since change in S is negative, gradient must be positive. Y-intercept is also negative. So this is your y-intercept. Can you see? Y-intercept, right? So it's negative. So it will just be a positive gradient cutting through the negative part of the y-axis. So there has to be A. Okay, let's look at the next question. Question 8. Okay, ammonia gas and hydrogen chloride react to form ammonium chloride as shown. Alright. The magnitude of, they said the magnitude, so you don't know the sign yet, of the standard entropy change of this reaction is 248. Which statements are correct? So you do have to do a bit of calculation over here, okay, to check whether statement 1 is correct or wrong. So change in G is equals to change in H minus change in S. So change in H is minus 176. Temperature, since they're asking for standard condition, I'm going to put 298. Okay, for this reaction, change in S is actually, okay, becomes gas to solid, becomes more ordered, it's actually negative. So here should be minus 284, divide by 1000 to convert it into kilojoules. Okay, press your calculator, you should get a value of minus 91.4 kilojoules per mole. So which means this statement is definitely wrong. Okay, let's look at 2. The reaction becomes non-spontaneous at temperatures higher than 620. So let's do some calculation here. Change in G, to be non-spontaneous, change in G must be greater than 0. Alright, so which means change in H minus T, change in S must be greater than 0. We plug in the value, minus 176 minus T. Okay, assuming the change in H and change in S doesn't change. So you work it out, alright, you press your calculator, T must be greater than 620 Kelvin, alright. So for the reaction to be non-spontaneous, the temperature must be more than 620. Yes, this is true, alright. Okay, there's an increase in order as strong hydrogen bonds between ammonia and HCl hold the particles in ammonium chloride in fixed position. That is totally untrue because ammonium chloride is already an ionic compound. So there's actually no hydrogen bonds whatsoever. Okay, so which means this is the answer for this has to be C, 2 only. Alright, okay, let's look at the next question. Hydrogen can be made from steam according to the following equation. The Gibbs free energy change of reaction at 2 different temperatures are shown. Alright, so we have to calculate by using the formula. So change in G equals to change in H minus T change in S. right? So we're going to do for both G1 and G2, right? So let's see. 78 is equals to change in H minus 378, okay, because it's 378 Kelvin here, change in S. Next one, minus 58 is equals to change in H minus 1300, change in S. I call this equation 1, I call this equation 2. So if I take 2 minus 1, right, 2 or 1 minus 2, I'm going to use 1 minus 2 instead. Alright, okay, 1 minus 2, say 1 minus 2, 78 minus 558, which means is 136. Okay, so minus 378 then plus 1300, so that will give you 922 change in S. Okay, so you can calculate the change in S and it will turn out to be 0.148 kilojoules, yes, per Kelvin per mole. Right, so anyway, you can see that it's a positive value. Right, okay, so let's think through. So if change in S is a positive value, all right, and change in G here is also positive, so which means change in H have no choice but it has to be positive. It cannot be negative, because if it's negative, the entire right hand side will all be negative. Okay, so which means D should be the answer. All right. Okay, let's move on to question 10. Which of the following processes lead to an increase in entropy? So more disordered. All right, more disordered. So diffusion definitely is more disordered. We combust charcoal to form carbon dioxide and water vapor. Yeah, you're forming a gas, so it's definitely more disordered. All right. Okay, how about the third one? Desalination of water by reverse osmosis from a dilute solution. So imagine this is seawater, is a dilute solution. So once you do reverse osmosis with pressure, you push out the pure water. And actually the solution becomes more concentrated. Okay, and of course pure water is being pushed out. Okay, so if it's more concentrated, you can see that the particles are actually closer. Okay, the particles here are actually closer, so we say it's more ordered. Okay, see that? So which means I'm thinking change in S should be negative. So but this one is change in S must be positive, so I say this is not correct. So 10 should be only 1 and 2. Okay, let's look at the next question. Instant cold packs. Okay, when I see the word instant cold packs, means this is something to cool things down. Alright, so it's going to be endothermic reaction. Alright, so it's going to be positive. If it's a heat pack, it will be exothermic, but this is cold pack, so it's positive. Alright, okay, and the question says when the pack is squeezed, the membrane breaks and ammonium nitrate dissolves in water spontaneously. So spontaneously, I take change in G to be negative, so which means I have no choice, but the answer is going to be D. Okay, let's look at the next question. Sulfur dioxide. Okay, sulfur dioxide plus oxygen to give you SO3. Okay, they say the reaction becomes spontaneous at 781. Okay, so let's check at what temperature will the reaction become spontaneous. Alright, so I'm just going to let change in G to be less than 0. So change in H for spontaneous reaction. So change in H is minus 198. Temperature, I leave it. So this minus 188 divided by 1000. Okay, because it's always in joules, you must always convert to kilojoules. So work it out. The temperature you get would be less than 1053 Kelvin. Right, so you calculate and you change to degrees Celsius, is going to be minus what, 273, right? So it's going to be 780 Kelvin. Degrees Celsius, sorry, not Kelvin. Okay, minus 273. Okay, so they say it becomes by 781, just shy of it, so only spontaneous less than 780, so this is wrong. Okay, as temperature increases, the reaction becomes more spontaneous. So let's see whether this is true or false. So you know that change in H is actually negative, change in S is also negative, so which means this whole place is positive. Yeah, so this reaction is only feasible at low temperature. They say temperature increases, reaction becomes more spontaneous. This is also wrong. So you have not much of a choice. Actually, 3 is the answer. The reaction is spontaneous under standard condition. Okay, actually you notice if T is less than, temperature is less than 1053 Kelvin, the reaction is spontaneous, and of course under standard condition is 298 Kelvin. Yes, it will surely be spontaneous because it's less than 1053 Kelvin. Alright, okay, so 3 is the only answer, A. Alright, let's look at the next question. Okay, which one of the processes will change the S be negative? The burning of sulfur and oxygen produce sulfur dioxide gas. So you're producing sulfur dioxide gas, so maybe the equation looks like this. In fact, this one, since you have 1 mole gas to 1 mole gas, I guess change the S, I'll take it to be approximately 0. Dissolution of a solute in a solvent. Okay, so this actually sometimes it can be positive or negative. Yeah, so this one I'll put a question mark first. The synthesis of an ionic compound from its constituent gaseous ions. So gaseous ions to a solid, it becomes more ordered, right? So more ordered means change in S is negative. So 3 is surely correct. You can see that since 1 was already wrong, so if you cancel out 1 means B, C, and D are already wrong. So that's why the answer is only A.
Thank you for watching the Twig Learning Center chemistry tutorial. I hope you learned something new. Don't forget to click the subscribe button so you'll be updated when new videos are posted.